Today's story starts with a word you already know, a word you've probably heard shouted in movies, crackling through old radio recordings, or whispered with dread in documentaries. A word that instantly raises your pulse even if you're sitting safely on your couch. Mayday. It sounds almost gentle, almost casual, like something you might say without thinking. And yet, when spoken over a radio, it carries the weight of fear, urgency, and survival. It means something has gone terribly wrong. It means lives may depend on what happens next. So what does Mayday really mean, and where did it come from? Why this word, out of all the words in every language on Earth, became the universal cry for help in the sky and at sea? Stick with me, because the answer is more human, more fragile, and more fascinating than most people realize. Before Mayday existed, emergency communication was a mess. In the early days of radio, especially in aviation and maritime travel, radios were unreliable, voices were distorted, and misunderstandings were common. Signals faded in and out. Static swallowed syllables. Accents blurred meaning. A pilot might shout, "Help," only for it to sound like something else entirely on the receiving end. A ship could be taking on water while its message was misheard, ignored, or misunderstood. And in emergencies, seconds matter. Confusion wasn't just inconvenient, it was deadly. As international travel increased in the early 20th century, it became painfully obvious that emergency communication needed to be standardized. One word. One signal. Something unmistakable that would instantly tell anyone listening, regardless of language, that this was not routine chatter. This was life or death. It's easy to assume Mayday has something to do with the month of May, or perhaps an old nautical tradition. But the truth is far more practical. The word Mayday comes from the French phrase, Mayday, which means, help me. In the early 1920s, a British radio officer named Frederick Stanley Mockford was working at Croydon Airport in London. His job involved coordinating radio communication for flights traveling between England and continental Europe, especially France. At the time, aviation was still young, fragile, and dangerous. Pilots relied heavily on radio operators, and many flights crossed the English Channel, moving constantly between English and French-speaking airspace. Mockford was tasked with solving a problem that sounds simple but wasn't. He needed to come up with a distress signal that would work across languages, accents, and poor radio conditions. Words like help or emergency were obvious candidates, but they had problems. They were too common. Too easy to confuse with normal conversation. And they didn't translate well. A French radio operator might not instantly recognize an English word spoken through static by a panicked pilot. Mockford needed something short, sharp, and emotionally clear. Something that could be pronounced easily by both English and French speakers. Mayday fit perfectly. It was simple. It was direct. And when spoken out loud, especially over radio, it cut through noise. Over time, the phrase was anglicized into Mayday, preserving its sound while making it easier for English speakers to use consistently. One of the most distinctive features of a Mayday call is repetition. When someone declares a Mayday, they don't say it once. They say it 3 times. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This isn't theatrics. It's engineering. Early radios were unreliable. Words could be clipped or lost entirely. Saying the word 3 times dramatically reduced the chance that it would be missed or misunderstood. It also made it nearly impossible to confuse with ordinary speech. A single Mayday could be brushed off as interference or misheard as something else. 3 in a row left no doubt. This was an emergency. And once those words were spoken, protocol kicked in. Other radio users were expected to stay silent. The channel became sacred space for distress communication. In chaos, structure saves lives. As aviation and maritime travel expanded, Mayday quickly proved its value. By the mid-20th century, it was formally adopted into international distress protocols. It became part of the global language of safety, recognized by pilots, sailors, coast guards, and air traffic controllers around the world. Importantly, Mayday was given a very specific meaning. It was reserved only for situations involving immediate danger to life. Fires on board, collisions, structural failures, loss of control, situations where survival itself was at risk. This strict definition mattered. If Mayday was used casually, it would lose its power. Rescue resources could be diverted unnecessarily. Panic could spread. So the word was protected by rules, and those rules gave it authority. What's fascinating is that Mayday isn't the only emergency signal in radio communication. There's another one that sounds almost playful by comparison. Pan-pan. Like Mayday, it comes from French, derived from pan, meaning a breakdown. Pan-pan signals urgency, but not immediate danger to life. A mechanical issue. A medical concern. A navigation problem that could escalate if left unresolved. The existence of both signals shows how carefully emergency language is designed. It's not just about sounding dramatic. It's about precision. About telling responders exactly how bad the situation is, so they can prioritize effectively. Language becomes a tool, as important as any piece of equipment on board. Over time, Mayday became deeply embedded in public consciousness. It moved beyond cockpits and ship bridges and into movies, television, and everyday speech. People began using it jokingly, casually, even ironically. A dropped phone. A missed deadline. Mayday, but despite this casual use, its official meaning never changed. In real-world communication, it remains sacred. When spoken correctly, it still triggers immediate, coordinated responses. Air traffic controllers drop everything. Ships alter course. Rescue teams mobilize. All because of one word. In an age of GPS, satellites, and automated distress beacons, it's fair to wonder why Mayday still matters. After all, modern aircraft can transmit their location automatically. Ships can send digital distress signals with the push of a button. But technology has a weakness humans understand better than anyone. It can fail. Batteries die. Systems glitch. Software crashes. Antennas break. In those moments, a human voice over a radio becomes priceless. Mayday endures because it doesn't depend on complex systems. It depends on people listening. And people responding. There's also something profoundly human about Mayday. It's not just a technical term. It's an admission of vulnerability. Saying Mayday means acknowledging that you are no longer in control. That you need help. That survival may depend on others. In professions built around confidence and precision, that moment takes courage. Pilots are trained to remain calm, to follow procedures, to think clearly under pressure. Declaring Mayday isn't panic. It's professionalism. It's recognizing reality and acting decisively to protect lives. Interestingly, Mayday's effectiveness comes not from how dramatic it sounds, but from how ordinary it is. It doesn't rely on complex language or emotional speeches. It's short, sharp, unmistakable. Designed not for poetry, but for survival. Its power lies in restraint. In the fact that it is only used when absolutely necessary. That rarity gives it weight. When someone hears Mayday, they don't ask questions. They act. The story of Mayday also reflects a broader truth about human progress. Many of the systems that keep us safe today weren't born from grand inventions, but from small adjustments to communication. A word chosen carefully. A protocol repeated consistently. A shared understanding built across cultures. Mayday is a reminder that sometimes the simplest tools are the most powerful. That a single word, agreed upon by strangers around the world, can mean the difference between life and death. So the next time you hear Mayday in a movie, or see it written in a script, remember what it really represents. Not drama. Not spectacle. But decades of trial, error, and hard-earned lessons written in loss and survival. A word shaped by crackling radios, stormy seas, and fragile aircraft. A word designed to be heard when everything else fails. It's a signal that cuts through noise, fear, and language itself. A reminder that even in our most advanced moments, we still rely on something deeply human. A voice asking for help. If you have an idea for a future video, drop it in the comments. We love exploring the hidden stories behind everyday things, especially when they come from your curiosity. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore our other bingeable episodes. Until next time, stay curious, and we'll see you again as we uncover more history woven into the simplest details.